Jordan, I'm glad you could make it out today. I'm really stoked to have you guys back on and back to talk about a big event coming up this weekend. So, or this weekend when it gets released. So yeah, man, I'm glad you're able to make it out. So thank you very much for doing this, bro. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Right on. So we'll get right into it then. So we're doing these with the release with 5 Cent City and the event, it being like the 5th time that's going to happen and the final year of this event specifically. Can you tell us, for somebody who's maybe just clicking or just saw you in the thumbnail or just saw something or saw the title, what is 5 Cent City to you? Or like, what is it? Like, describe it. Just at face value, what is it for somebody who doesn't know?
5 Cent City, every time I try and describe it, it's like such a long-winded answer, and I talk for like 15 minutes before they start to get an idea of what it is, right?
Amazing.
But my favorite parts about it are usually the stories that people tell when they're there, right? So to me, it is, one, it's an event where people can have a good day and everybody feels invited. You know, there's certain people out there in Sudbury that don't always feel invited to some kinds of events, and this is like by the city for the city.
Yeah.
Or by the community for the community, so everybody feels invited. And so you have people who feel like they're at their lowest, people who feel like they're at their highest, and you have everything in between, so you can help each other out whatever level you're at, right? There's somebody right ahead of you, right below you that you can help, which is a beautiful thing. Mm-hmm. All the stories that people will tell about like the lessons that they've learned, right? A lot of people feel like they're super alone when they're going through issues in life, and this shows you, one, you're not alone. A lot of other people are going through these things, and there is another side, right? You can have faith in like that things can work out. Yeah, I could talk about forever like what it means to me, but for me, as somebody who lived on the other side of like the white picket fence and didn't always see all the bad stuff or the bad parts of the city, as in like you know, whether it's the drugs or the extreme mental health issues or that kind of stuff, I didn't always get to see that, but it was a real eye opener. And so now I get to come from a place of like understanding, and I know there's a lot of people out there who don't understand as well, so it's good for everybody to come out and experience it. There's a lot of healing happening in those events. I've seen people change their life on a dime because of the event, which is crazy for like one day for that to have an effect. And for those who are having a hard day or a hard time, you can have one good day, you know?
Yeah, I like that, man. So how'd you first get introduced to the event?
So I first got introduced to the event by Christian, right? So Christian is somebody that my dad knew, and you know, they have their history. And then Christian came to town to start this event, and he reached out to my dad, and then all of a sudden Christian is treating my brother Chase for his back, and I'm watching him treat my brother, and I'm asking him questions for me, and all of a sudden he's treating me.
Yeah.
And he's telling me about this event. I'm like, okay, cool. And as I got to know Christian, know his like intentions and what kind of person he is, I pretty quickly became all in for helping him out, even though I didn't know what this event was really going to turn into. You know, what was it actually about. But so I started following him, and he asked me to come along to film things for the events, right? Like
cool.
Promos. Yeah. And I got to hear people's stories. I got to go like into their kitchens and their living rooms, and with, you know, moms who have lost their children or this and this. I got to hear like all the real stories, like in the background, or people who have lost their family, their friends, like everybody's like passing away around them. And anyways, that's kind of how I was brought in, was basically through Christian. And ever since then I was like, was all in with this.
Dude, how has so you really got like immersed in it right away? You each got thrown in. Take me through. So you were at the first one, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Take me through how the event has progressed over the years. Like, has it always been kind of like a similar structure, or take me through how it's kind of grown into what it is going to be this year?
So it started off being mainly a basketball event, but again with the same intention of being for the community. And I'll back up real quick too. One of the big things I like about the event is it addresses some of the cycles, right? Because if somebody has their own trauma or things that they're going through, which everybody does, and you get to see like maybe some hope or whatever, and if you manage to end your own cycle of like, let's say trauma or whatever it is, or mental health or whatever, then you're less likely to pass that down to, let's say, your kids right? And usually those people have had it passed down from generations, right?
Yeah.
So it can end a lot of cycles, right? Not as well, it's gonna do it for everybody, but like I've seen it firsthand, like actually happen for some people, which is again crazy for one event. So there was always this aspect of like thinking about the cycles and how to maybe not directly end the cycles, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Have some effect on that. I think with mothers speaking about their experiences and like losing their kids, or somebody else who's was an alcoholic and maybe isn't anymore, or is just newly not drinking anymore and is speaking about that. But it was mainly a basketball tournaments.
Yeah.
And while we like sneak in a bunch of like stuff like that, you know what I mean?
Yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah, it was really cool. So that's why he brought me into, was to do the dunking and to do the entertainment part of it and trying to bring in some more people. And then over time, you know, it also went through COVID, right? So we couldn't do like basketball stuff. So we mainly those sometimes where we have no basketball and it's just all this kind of stuff, right? And there'll still be like other kinds of entertainment, whether it's rappers, drummers, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So every year it's basically just got more and more refined in every single way. The events would just run smoother, but I think all of them were like extremely powerful. Like all of them were very, very powerful from beginning to end. If anything, everything's just smoother, more refined, and has like a more cohesive like story from beginning to end. Yeah.
Man, that's so cool. What I'd like to know, because just personally, like I wasn't there for the first two, didn't know of it, and then talking to Zach, a good friend of ours, he told me about the event, and I'm like, oh, okay, like sounds interesting, you know, I'll go support, say hello, show up. I'd met you once or twice before that at his place as well, and then I've met a handful of other people like just in passing or from the show, right? So I was like, oh, this is interesting. And then fast forward even like the following year after that, I was like, now it's like, oh man, like this is so cool. And then now it's like, hey, I can bring people, show people about this thing that like I think is really cool and like a bunch of my friends are doing. And then now it's like to be a part of it is like, for me, it's a very interesting growth. But just to go from like being unaware of it to being a spectator to being like somebody involved in the event is like a really, really cool thing personally. So what I'd like to know, how has it challenged, like how has the event challenged you? Like how did your participation begin in the beginning to what are some things throughout the years that you've had to do that you maybe hadn't done in the past?
So I feel like what I've brought to the table has pretty much always stayed the same, right? Like I am helping out with, let's say, getting some things that they have a hard time getting, like maybe because of my name I can get like a little extra like here and there. But mostly, you know, I'm putting on the dunk show, I'm telling people about it, posting on social media. But I'm not as heavily involved, like actually physically doing everything like a lot of other people are. Like I'm there, especially if I can be, but I'd say over the years my involvement, like this year will probably be one of my smallest involvements because I'm running around everywhere around the world kind of thing, which is sad, which actually hurts my heart, but what I'm doing right now is very aligned with like who I want to become. And I'm still going to obviously help out as much as I can. But,
you'll still be there.
I'll still be there. I'll be putting on a show. I'll be doing everything. I'll be talking to everybody there. I'll be as involved as I can be outside of like me traveling right before that. But
makes sense. So you come back in town with like the week of type thing, and then it's like right to the event.
Like
that.
I might have maybe a day or two before.
So like pretty much right up to it. Oh wow, I'm glad we can get this in now. So too, what role do you think this event plays for the community just as a whole? Because like you kind of touched on earlier, there are events that people don't feel maybe included in going, and I definitely felt that way in the past with some events. I'm like, I don't really care to go, but then never with this one. So I'm wondering what role do you think that plays in like this event specifically as well, like plays in the community?
I think it's one of those things where you'll always have a hard time quantifying it because it's such a ripple effect, right? Like one thing can affect one person, which can affect another person, which can affect another person, which you'll never know, right? But I know some things that I've seen firsthand, whether it's a mother who hasn't been able to sleep in years because, just nightmares from since her kid passed away, to her finally being able to have a full night of sleep, like finally,
Whoa.
like after the day after that event, could finally sleep. It's like, that's fascinating. And then some other people who have had a rougher life and have asked questions like, how can I improve my life? What can I do? And then Christian's there, and the event is what inspired that.
Mm-hmm.
So I asked Christian, and Christian's like, well, he introduced him to meditating. Oh, you can ask Jordan about meditating.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you can start reading these books. And he's never read anything before. Now he's reading, now he's meditating, he's working on his family relationships, stuff he's never done before. Now he's not just affecting himself, but he's affecting his family. And this all started from a point of like 5 Cent City, right?
Interesting.
So imagine all the ones that we don't know about, and to me, personally, it's affected me. And the things I've learned from it, I've passed on to other people that I've met.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Something that we'll never be able to like see directly, but I know it has a really deep impact, especially for a one-day thing.
Mm-hmm. What is something like some way that the event has like impacted you?
I think it's just opened up my eyes. It's really hard to try and find anything to like truly back. Like, for example, let's say you look into certain charities, sometimes you realize, you address a problem, but then it creates other problems, right? That kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think this hits really as close as possible to like the core, right? But unfortunately, again, you can't. It's hard to like specifically measure. But it hits at the core of the community. And sorry, I lost it again. What's the question again?
It was, how has it impacted your your life, like personally, from the beginning to now?
So for me personally, it's helped me really understand other people's perspective. Almost understand that I don't understand sometimes people's situations, right? I still try and help as much as I can, but it's made me think a lot more about like what it means to actually try to make a difference, because that is one of my goals, is to make a difference. And this is something that I believe in doing, right? And there's a lot of great charities out there, but which ones are truly effective, right? And to what degree are they effective? And I feel like for this one day, it was extremely effective. So maybe this route or something similar that addresses like the community in this way that it does it, I think is a really interesting way to do it, the way that Christian likes to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And who knows, maybe if me and Christian will do a foundation of our own someday, and like, well, maybe this is the way we do it through events, maybe it's other ways, maybe it's through art or other things like that, but it just gave me another perspective of like trying to make a difference, like one that works and isn't your typical way of going about something.
Mm-hmm. There's a very authentic approach to the themes and to kind of just how everything's delivered in the event, and it's very, very, it's very, very welcoming. And I know we're going to keep bringing that up because that's just a reality of it, and I kind of also, I'm sure you do, like, want to drill that point home of how like literally anybody can go. But talk to me, so this year's theme of like resilience, right? Talk to me about how you've exemplified that in your life throughout the years, because I'm sure you have examples.
For me, resilience has been, one of the biggest things for becoming who I am today, at least aiming to be resilient, right? Not always perfect, but it's more so the idea of like, you just never give up, you keep going, right?
Yeah.
But some people don't have the faith to keep going, right? Or for me, one thing that made a difference is to know if it's like 0.01% possible, then that's worth it for me to like go in and use that resilience, to use that, or to try to be tough with it. When I think being resilient, I think about like really hard times to like get through. And I've had my share of like hard times, obviously, but relatively speaking, especially some of these people who I've met at 5 Cent City, hearing their stories, I'm like, I haven't experienced anything like that.
Yeah, I feel that as well.
And you know, maybe that's a big reason why I am where I am today. You know, I haven't faced like the worst of the worst. You know, I've been given some really great tools. I have 3 great parents, my mom, dad, stepdad, who haven't passed down any trauma to me or anything like that.
Yeah.
Haven't had to deal with any addictions, right? Not saying my life was super easy, but it's just, for me to sit here and be like, this was so tough, knowing some of these people's stories, feels like, who am I to talk, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yes, I went through some hard things. The main thing is just to always, is to just never give up. In my scenario is where I've been resilient, right? I really wanted to do this dunking thing, and I've had a lot of people tell me to stop and that it wasn't worth it, especially because it sounds so ridiculous. I mean, I wasn't even close to being good enough to a pro yet, right? Like, I was such a unrealistic goal, right? Nobody knew, including myself, that I would get as good as I am today, especially because you don't think that's necessarily possible with like the level of genetics that I have, right? I'm not saying I have bad genetics, but like the people I compete against are like worlds past where I am.
It's insane.
But nobody else has decided to take pro dunking like an Olympic sport like I did, and so I took it much further than I expected. But so it's more so just having a lot of people, or almost everyone, doubt you, in a sense, like, that's obviously not possible. And I thought that was probably not possible, but if it's like maybe possible, like 0.01% chance, then it was worth trying. Worth at least trying. Worst case scenario, like, I was willing to like be homeless if I had to do that. Which is a bad thing to tell your parents. Which are like, no, that's exactly why we're afraid of this. You know what I mean? So we don't want you to resort to that, right, and like give up everything for it. But yeah, I mean, resilience, I guess, is why I am where I am today, is because where a lot of other people, I had like a million chances to stop that would have been very, very reasonable, and I know a lot of other people who had better opportunities than me and just didn't take it because they just gave up or said, like, what's the point? It probably won't happen. That's why I am where I am today. I thought it probably won't happen, but small percent chance it will, so I'll just keep going and never, ever, ever stop. Right.
What I've always found like fascinating about you, that you have a very interesting character trait. Like, you have a very interesting like obsessive character trait about you, right? And like, you know this, we've talked a bit about this in the past, but your ability to kind of obsess over like a skill, right? And the ability to kind of like improve upon it. And I think that in and of itself is a form of resilience. It's like, oh, there's like, you know that there's this thing and you're like, okay, if we break it down, it's putting a ball in the net, but there's so much more than that, and you've kind of like extrapolated it. You've extrapolated it through like all these nuances and these really like, and like through a web of like different ideas and like creative ways to achieve that task, right? So it's like the task is very, very simple, but you've made like hundreds, thousands of different ways to like to get to that thing, and then being able to kind of make it into something that you have is, I'd say, has to be like some form of like it's got to be like a form of resilience in some way.
I mean, it is. It could be sometimes a big example of resilience. Sometimes a lot of examples of small amounts of resilience, but like a lot of them, right? So, because a lot of those times where, let's say, I'm working on a skill like that, for example, or I'm the amount of exercises I invented for dunking so I can get better at dunking.
Just exercise, not even dunks.
Yeah, just exercise so I could train and get better at dunking without actually having to jump, right? So I invented these things called wall drills or ball handling drills that didn't exist for pro dunkers. Like, I'm the one who came up with that. So I want to keep getting better. As I'm coming up with this stuff, or as I'm doing all this extra stuff that I don't have evidence will for sure make me better, like, I could just be wasting my time. Like, who nobody knows, you know? Or I'm trying to invent a dunk, trying to do a dunk that I don't even know if it's possible. I'm spending years on it just to like, will it actually happen? I don't know. So the amount of other people who would, would just take the easy out. Like, why would I waste my time? I could be doing something else. You know what I mean? So there's a resilience in that way, where willing to always do like the extra step, which could be the extra hard thing.
That's interesting, dude. I think that there's something you said too. I think there's a word, pioneer. You know, I think that's the word, bro. It's a pioneer of kind of like, not just so much like the not just like a thing in and of itself, but the development of that skill, and then just being like dedicated and obsessed enough to like push through, not knowing that it could work. And now you're almost like you're in, and correct me if I'm wrong, you're in like the beginning and getting towards even more so being able to show people, being like, hey, this is what worked, this is what didn't, right? Like from what I gather, that's what you're doing now. Like you're in that beginning stages of kind of figuring out the best way to do that, like with the app and with everything, right? And so being able to do that, I think is like, that's phenomenal. And then giving back once, like, hey, so I tried my best. Some of it didn't work out. A lot of it did. This is what you can do, and this is what won't work. And then it's like, trust me, because I figured it out.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, with all those
really
things,
cool.
it's basically like you don't realize when you're doing it, but you're like, oh, I'm just basically doing a bunch of discipline and habit building, basically.
Yeah.
Right? And then over time, you start to see patterns of like how you go about doing that, like what are the best ways to actually do that.
Yeah.
And then I read books on habits and this one, I'm like, oh, there's actual science behind it, like the way I'm doing it apparently. And I'm like, cool, maybe that'll be one of the next things that I pass on to the next generation will be like these things that I've learned over time.
Nice. Dude,
Which applies to the rest of your life.
Yeah.
So.
Which is, that's always something that I found really like impressive about you as a skill is your discipline. Right? Like we're all, like I consider myself a pretty disciplined individual, and I like see tenfold when you do it. It's incredible, dude. And so I want to commend you for that, because you're disciplined and you're very vocal and open about how like the importance of it, and be like, yeah, like it's, you go when you feel like crap and you go when you don't feel like crap, right? It doesn't matter how you feel. You're just like, well, I got to dunk today, right? Got to train. So I think that's something to admire, and I don't think I might be wrong, but I don't think you get enough credit for that, dude.
Thank you.
Like, I think it's a phenomenal thing that I think you should be like commended for a little bit more. Switching gears a bit back to more 5 Cent City focus, do you happen to have an example of somebody that did switch like immediately, like do a 180 life turn from the event?
I do have an example, but just in case, out of respect for like their whole thing, I don't know if it's something that's I don't want to go parading around like their accomplishments or whatever.
Yep.
Let's see.
We can go vague too. Obviously, you don't have to go specifics or names. Obviously.
No. No, this should be fine. So one person, because this is actually celebrate them, he should be celebrated, is Jerry.
Oh yeah.
Oh man, that man has changed so much, and
that's so cool.
You know, maybe he would eventually got there at some point. I don't really know, but I don't know if that would have happened without 5 Cent City, without Christian. I think that opened up his eyes a lot, and that dude changed so much. Like, you know, he was like a harder guy. Now he's like, so like people think he's like smoking weed all the time now, but he's just like a calm guy now. You know,
yeah,
he's just mellow. He's like more joyful. You know, he's like, because he's meditating now, and he's like reading like self-improvement books. It's like he's got his like little station at home where he does all this, working on all those relationships.
Yeah, it's
mind-blowing to see all this, especially you know, I've seen a couple of things he's been having a hard time with at times, and he's coming out the other end and he's crushing it.
Dude, the first I've met him a couple times in passing, like being with somebody else, and they like introduced me, right? But the men's circle the other weekend really made me like, I was like, whoa, okay, this guy's mellow, and they kind of explained a bit about what he had done in the past and where he was, right? I'll leave the details out in the air, but yeah, I was like, man, like I was dumbfounded at like how I like the amount of growth. I was like, it's so cool to think that something can do that, and it's like you're just a part of creating that, and like just
it's wild.
It's really wild.
It's kind of cool, like his personality now versus like the way he looks, right? Like, cause he's a biker. And
he's a biker. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. But he's like
doesn't fit.
The coolest and chillest guy. I love it. It's so cool.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. So, what I'd like you to do is kind of summarize like what are you most looking forward to personally, like this year, about the event.
Honestly, I'm looking forward to see what Christian's going to put on. You know, what he has planned. I'm excited for the the movie showing that's gonna be showing before that.
Yeah, the night before.
Yeah, and I don't know, it's the last one. I just feel like I'm gonna be in an even more attentive headspace, right? 'Cause I think a lot of people too, they'll know it's the last one, so like I'll be definitely very present, and that'll be a very special experience. So what am I looking forward to the most? Just the entire thing. Like, I think it's gonna be so cool, so special. Yeah. Oh, my brother's gonna be playing too, so like DJing
Yeah,
and
that's
stuff
cool.
too.
Yeah,
So
I'm excited for him.
that's gonna be fun too. Yeah.
Nice. What can people, to summarize it, what can people expect for this year?
I think people can expect a really good time, some really intense but beautiful stories. They can learn a lot of things, a lot of lessons. Some people went through a really hard time. They come out the other end and they have some lessons to give off, right? So if you go there, you can grow as a person. You're gonna have an amazing time. Have some good food. Listen to some good music. Some great entertainments. Have some great conversations, and yeah, feel like you're part of a community, something bigger than yourself.
Nice. Right on, man. Yeah, I think I really appreciate your time today. I know you're a busy guy, so I'm just really I'm grateful every time I get to talk to you, dude. I love chatting with you, picking your brain, and yeah.
I'll throw in one last thing. So
yeah,
this
please.
is how important
I
this
did
event
see that.
is.
Yeah,
Is
that's cool.
that, I don't know if you can see that on screen, but yeah,
Oh,
so
yeah,
that's
well-
Five City. Had to get it before the last one.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Nice, right on the hand too.
Yeah.
Did you just decide this is the best place to put it because I could see
Well,
it every day all the
because-
time? Or?
Because I could do this. So that's usually what we do for the five,
Oh,
right? At the end, we go
I
like
see
this,
it.
and so
Yeah.
it's right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Always thinking, eh?
Mm.
Nice. Right on, dude. So yeah, man, thank you very much. I'm looking forward to seeing you at the event.
100%.
Right
Can't
on,
wait.
brother. Thank you.